The phone buzzed at 3:43 a.m., and I almost didn't pick it up. My wife Olivia's phone sat on her nightstand, vibrating against the wood with that insistent rattle that meant someone was calling. She was dead asleep beside me, her breathing deep and even. I reached across her to silence it before it woke her up. She'd been working late all week at the marketing firm, coming home exhausted around 10 or 11 each night. The poor woman needed her rest. That's when I saw the name on the screen. Greg, Gym. I stared at it. We didn't have a gym membership. Olivia always said she got enough exercise walking around the office and taking the stairs. In our 5 years of marriage, I'd never once seen her go to a gym. The call went to voicemail. I should have put the phone down. I should have rolled over and gone back to sleep. Instead, I sat there in the dark of our bedroom, my heart starting to pound for reasons I couldn't quite name yet. 30 seconds later, the voicemail notification appeared. My hand was shaking as I picked up her phone. I knew her passcode. We'd always had each other's passwords. Transparency in marriage, we'd agreed early on. Nothing to hide. I punched in the numbers, 0823, our wedding anniversary. The voicemail app opened. I pressed play and held the phone to my ear. Liv, baby, I can't stop thinking about tonight. The man's voice was deep, slightly breathless. You were incredible. I'm still catching my breath here. Listen, I know you said your husband's out of town next weekend for that conference in Denver, so I was thinking we could actually spend a whole night together for once. Maybe get a hotel room downtown? Somewhere nice where we don't have to rush. Call me back when you can. Miss you already. The phone slipped from my hand onto the mattress. I sat there, frozen, as my brain tried to process what I'd just heard. There had to be an explanation, a mistake, wrong number. Except he'd said her name, Liv. And he knew about Denver. The Denver conference was real. I was supposed to fly out Friday morning for a 3-day pharmaceutical sales conference. I'd told Olivia about it 2 months ago. She'd seemed disappointed, said she'd miss me. We'd even talked about her coming along, making it a little vacation, but she'd said she had too much work. Too much work. I looked at my wife sleeping peacefully beside me, her blonde hair spread across the pillow, her face serene in the dim light filtering through the curtains. This was Olivia. My Olivia. The woman I'd met at a coffee shop 6 years ago when she'd accidentally grabbed my latte instead of hers. The woman who'd said yes when I proposed on the beach in Malibu. The woman who'd walked down the aisle toward me with tears in her eyes, promising to love me forever. The woman who was apparently sleeping with someone named Greg from a gym she didn't belong to. My hands were trembling as I opened her text messages. I told myself I'd find nothing, that the voicemail was some kind of misunderstanding, that there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. The first thread was labeled Greg with a heart emoji. I clicked it. The messages went back 4 months. 4 months of can't wait to see you, and last night was amazing, and he's working late again, can you meet? There were logistics, times, places, careful planning. There were photos she'd sent him, pictures I recognized from her girls' night out 2 weeks ago. She was wearing the black dress I'd bought her for her birthday, the one she'd said she was wearing to dinner with her college friends. There were no college friends in these photos. Just Olivia, posing in what looked like a hotel bathroom mirror, the dress unzipped enough to show she wasn't wearing anything underneath. I was going to be sick. I stumbled out of bed, clutching her phone, and made it to the bathroom just in time. I heaved into the toilet, my whole body shaking. When there was nothing left, I sat on the cold tile floor, my back against the tub, and kept scrolling. The affair had started in early January, 4 months ago, right after New Year's. We'd made resolutions together that night. I'd promised to work less overtime. She'd promised to cook more instead of ordering takeout. We'd toasted with champagne and made love on the couch while watching the ball drop in Times Square on TV. 3 days later, according to the texts, she'd met Greg at a hotel bar downtown. By the end of that week, they were sleeping together. I read every message. All 4 months of them. Each one was a knife twisting deeper. The way she talked to him, playful, passionate, free. It was how she used to talk to me, back when we were dating. When had she stopped talking to me like that? When had I become the obstacle she had to work around instead of the person she wanted to be with? "Babe?" Olivia's sleepy voice came from the bedroom. "You okay?" I looked down at the phone in my hand, then at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My face was pale, eyes red-rimmed. I looked like a stranger. "Yeah," I called back, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. "Just some bad Chinese food from dinner. Go back to sleep." I heard her mumble something and the rustle of sheets as she settled back down. I sat there on the bathroom floor for another 20 minutes, thinking, planning. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by something colder. Something harder. By the time I walked back into the bedroom, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I spent the next 3 days moving through our life like a ghost. Each morning, I kissed Olivia goodbye, made coffee in the same mugs we'd bought together in Portland, listened to her complain about deadlines and difficult clients, nodding in all the right places. At night, I held her while she fell asleep, her blonde hair spread across my chest the way it had for 5 years. And every moment, I was planning. The Denver conference was in 4 days. I'd already confirmed my flight, my hotel reservation at the Marriott downtown. Olivia thought I'd be gone from Thursday evening through Sunday afternoon, 3 full nights away from home. She had no idea I'd changed my return flight to Thursday at midnight, that I'd be back in our house by 2 a.m. Friday morning. I knew exactly what I'd find. Tuesday evening, I sat in my car outside a Best Buy for 20 minutes before going inside. The store was too bright, too loud, the fluorescent lights making everything feel surreal. I found what I needed in the security section: a small wireless camera, the kind marketed for monitoring pets or checking on elderly parents. Motion activated. Cloud storage. Live feed accessible from any smartphone. "Gift?" the cashier asked as he scanned it. "Something like that," I said. That night, while Olivia was in the shower, I installed it on the bookshelf in our bedroom. Tucked it behind a photo of us from our honeymoon in Greece. Olivia laughing on a white sand beach, my arm around her waist. We'd looked so happy. Maybe we had been. The camera was invisible unless you knew where to look. The red recording light disabled, the angle perfect. I tested the feed on my phone. Crystal clear view of our bed, the nightstands, the doorway. Everything I'd need. "What are you doing?" I nearly dropped my phone. Olivia stood in the bathroom doorway, wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping wet. "Just checking tomorrow's schedule," I said. My voice came out steady. I'd gotten good at that. "Early meeting with a new client." She smiled, walked over, kissed my cheek. She smelled like her lavender body wash, the same one she'd been using since we met. "Don't work too hard." "Never do," I said. She had no idea I was looking at a live feed of the bed where she'd been sleeping with someone else for 4 months. Wednesday, I went to see a lawyer. His name was David Patterson, and his office was in a glass tower downtown, 30 minutes from our house, far enough that I wouldn't run into anyone we knew. I'd found him through a simple Google search, best divorce attorney, plus our city name. His reviews were clinical, professional, no emotional hand-holding, just results. "Thanks for seeing me on short notice," I said, as I sat down across from his massive oak desk. Patterson was maybe 55, gray at the temples, expensive suit. He had the kind of face that had seen everything and been surprised by nothing. "You said on the phone this was time-sensitive." "It is." I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots I'd taken of Olivia's text thread with Greg. "My wife is having an affair. I discovered it 5 days ago. She doesn't know I know." He took the phone, scrolled through the messages without expression. "How long?" 4 months that I can prove. Maybe longer." "Joint assets?" "House is in both our names. 2 cars, both financed. Joint check-in and savings. No kids." "Thank God for that, at least. We'd been talking about starting to try next year." The thought made my stomach turn. Patterson handed back my phone. "You want to file?" "Yes, but not yet." I leaned forward. "I'm leaving town Thursday for a conference. She thinks I'll be gone through Sunday. I'm actually coming back Thursday night, very early Friday morning. I have reason to believe she's planning to have him over while I'm gone." Something that might have been interest flickered across Patterson's face. "You're gathering evidence." "I've installed a camera in our bedroom. It's recording to cloud storage. I'll have video proof of the affair by Friday morning." "That's legal in this state," he said. "It's your home, your bedroom." "But I have to ask, why wait? You already have the text messages. That's sufficient proof of adultery." I'd been expecting this question, had my answer ready. "Because I want there to be no doubt, no room for her to spin this, to make me the bad guy somehow. I want documentation so clear, so undeniable, that when we're sitting across from each other with lawyers, she has nothing to say." I paused. "And I want her to know that I knew. That I gave her every opportunity to tell me the truth, and she chose to lie." Patterson nodded slowly. "Revenge isn't a legal strategy." "I'm not interested in revenge. I'm interested in clarity." That was a lie, but it sounded good. "Can you have papers ready by Monday?" "I can have them ready by Friday if you need." "Monday's fine. I want to review the footage first. Make sure everything's documented properly." We spent the next hour going through details. Asset division, timeline, strategy. Patterson took notes in neat handwriting, asked precise questions, never once offered sympathy or judgment. It was exactly what I needed. "One more thing," I said as I stood to leave. "Is there any way to protect myself financially before I file? I don't think she'd drain our accounts, but you didn't think she'd cheat on you for 4 months either," Patterson finished. "Yes. You can withdraw half of any joint accounts and deposit them in an individual account in your name only. Document everything. Keep receipts. The court will see it as protecting marital assets, not hiding them." I did exactly that on my way home. Stopped at our bank, withdrew half of our savings, $23,450, and opened a new account at a different bank across town. The teller was cheerful, congratulating me on starting fresh. I didn't correct her assumption that I was a new customer building savings. She had no idea I was dismantling a marriage. Thursday morning arrived with cruel normalcy. Sunshine through the bedroom windows. Olivia humming in the kitchen while she made breakfast. The smell of coffee and toast. "You all packed?" she asked as I came downstairs with my suitcase. "Think so. Probably overpacked as usual." She laughed. That bright sound I'd fallen in love with 6 years ago in a coffee shop. Text me when you land? Of course. She kissed me goodbye at the door. Long, slow, the kind of kiss that used to mean something. I'll miss you. Miss you too, I said. Another lie. I was getting very good at those. I could see it in her eyes, the relief. 3 days of freedom, 3 days with him. My flight wasn't until 6 p.m., but I left for the airport at noon anyway. I couldn't stay in that house another minute, watching her pretend to be sad I was leaving while she was probably already texting Greg. I sat in the airport bar for 4 hours, nursing 2 beers and watching the security feed on my phone. Olivia came home at 3:30, early for her. She changed clothes, did her makeup, put on the black dress I'd bought her for her birthday last year. At 4:15, she left again. The house sat empty on my screen, our bedroom perfectly still. Waiting. The flight to Denver was 90 minutes. I stared out the window the entire time, watching the ground fall away, the city shrinking to nothing. A businessman next to me tried to make conversation, something about the Rockies, the weather, and I gave him one-word answers until he stopped trying. I checked into my hotel, attended the welcome reception for the conference, shook hands with colleagues and smiled and made small talk about market trends and quarterly projections. The whole time, my phone was in my pocket, the security app running in the background. At 10 p.m. Mountain Time, midnight back home, I checked the feed. Our bedroom was dark, empty. I felt something loosen in my chest. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe. Then I saw the notification, motion detected at 11:47 p.m. My hands were shaking as I opened the recorded footage. The bedroom light flicked on. Olivia appeared in the doorway, laughing. She wasn't alone. He was tall, dark-haired, athletic build, exactly what I'd imagined when I'd heard his voice on that voicemail 6 days ago. He pulled her toward the bed, our bed, and she went willingly, eagerly. I watched for 30 seconds before I closed the app. I didn't need to see more. The footage was there, time-stamped, undeniable. Backed up to the cloud where she couldn't delete it, couldn't explain it away. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed in Denver and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no pain. Just a cold, clear certainty. I pulled up my airline app and confirmed my midnight flight back home. Then I texted Patterson. Have the papers ready for Monday. I'll have everything you need by Friday afternoon. His response came 2 minutes later. Understood. I'll be in the office at 8 a.m. Monday. I set my alarm for 10 p.m. and lay back on the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling. In 6 hours, I'd be home. The flight touched down at 1:47 a.m., 17 minutes early. I'd packed light, just the carry-on, so I walked straight past baggage claim and out to the parking garage where I'd left my car 6 hours earlier. The drive home took 23 minutes. Every red light felt like an eternity. I parked 2 blocks away, on Maple Street, in front of the Richardsons' house. Their porch light was on a timer. I'd noticed that months ago, back when I still thought I knew my own life. The walk to our house was quiet. Spring night, cool enough that I could see my breath. A dog barked somewhere. Mrs. Cooper's terrier, probably. I'd forgotten, no, not Cooper. Mrs. Walsh. The widow 3 doors down with the yappy terrier. Our bedroom light was off. I stood on the sidewalk, looking up at the dark window. Greg's black Audi was parked in our driveway, right next to Olivia's Honda. Not even trying to hide it. Why would they? I wasn't supposed to be here. The divorce papers were in my jacket pocket. David had messaged them to me at 6 p.m. All ready, say the word and I'll file first thing Monday morning. I had a key to the front door, I could walk in right now, flip on the bedroom light, throw the papers on the bed while they scrambled to cover themselves. Watch Olivia's face drain of color. Watch Greg try to explain why he was in another man's bed. My hand was on the gate when I stopped. Because that's what the old version of me would have done. The version who believed in confrontation and closure and giving people a chance to explain themselves. The version who thought Olivia deserved to know I knew. But I'd spent the last 48 hours watching my wife plan her betrayal with the same attention to detail she used to plan our anniversary dinners. I'd watched her text Greg at 11 a.m. Thursday. He just left for the airport. Coast is clear. I'd watched her shower and shave and put on the black lingerie I'd bought her for Valentine's Day. I'd watched her erase me from our bedroom like I'd never existed. So no. No dramatic confrontation. No tears and apologies and "how could you" speeches. That was giving her too much. That was letting her control the narrative, spin her story, make excuses. I turned away from the house and walked back to my car. Friday morning, I checked into the Marriott downtown. Not the same hotel where Olivia and Greg had started their affair, but close enough. I slept until noon, then ordered room service and opened my laptop. The hidden camera was still recording. I fast-forwarded through the footage. Greg leaving at 7:23 a.m., Olivia showering at 7:45, making coffee at 8:10, settling onto the couch with her laptop by 8:30. Working from home today. Of course she was. I downloaded all the footage, Thursday night and Friday morning, and saved it to 3 separate cloud accounts. Then I went through her text messages again, taking screenshots of everything. The explicit photos, the planning, the "I love you" messages they'd started exchanging 2 weeks ago. My phone buzzed. Olivia. "How's Denver? Miss you." I stared at the heart emoji, wondered if she felt anything when she typed it. Wondered if any part of her felt guilty, or if it was all just performance by now. Conference is good. Busy day ahead. Love you too. The lies came easy. Easier than they should have. I spent Friday afternoon in the hotel business center, printing documents. The camera footage was on a USB drive in my pocket. The text message screenshots filled 63 pages. I organized everything into a folder, neat and chronological. David would appreciate that. At 4 p.m. I called my boss, Richard. "Hey, I need to take next week off. Personal emergency." "Everything okay?" "Will be. I'll explain when I'm back." Richard didn't push. We'd worked together for 7 years. He knew I didn't ask for time off unless I needed it. At 6 p.m. I texted Olivia. "Flight delayed. Might not get home until late. Don't wait up." "Oh no. Want me to pick you up from the airport?" "No, I'll just grab an Uber. Get some rest. Love you." Love you too. There was that heart again. Saturday morning, I drove to David's office. He'd agreed to meet me on the weekend, which told me everything I needed to know about how seriously he was taking this case. "You look like hell," he said when I walked in. "Haven't slept much." "Show me what you've got." I handed him the folder. He spent 40 minutes going through it, his expression never changing. Lawyer face. When he finished, he leaned back in his chair and looked at me. "This is airtight. The camera footage, the messages, the timeline, she won't be able to claim anything except exactly what this is." "Good. When do you want me to file?" "Monday morning, but I want to serve her myself." David raised an eyebrow. "That's not typical. We usually have a process server." "I want to serve her myself," I repeated. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "I'll have everything ready Sunday evening. You can pick it up here." "Thank you." One more thing. David folded his hands on his desk. You're handling this better than most people would, but when you serve her, when this becomes real, it's going to hit you differently. Make sure you have support. Friends, family, a therapist, someone. I'll be fine. That's what everyone says. Sunday evening, I picked up the papers from David's office. The folder was thick, official-looking. Petition for dissolution of marriage in bold letters across the top. Below that, a list of grounds. Irreconcilable differences, adultery, breach of marital trust. I drove back to the Marriott and sat in the parking lot, holding the folder. Tomorrow morning, I'd go home. Olivia would be getting ready for work, probably running late like she always did. She'd smile when I walked in, kiss me, ask about Denver. And I'd hand her the papers and watch her entire world collapse. Part of me, a small, stupid part, wanted to give her a chance to confess, to come clean on her own, to show me that somewhere under all the lies, there was still the woman I'd married. But I'd given her 100 chances already. Every time she said, working late. Every time she texted Greg while sitting next to me on the couch. Every time she climbed into our bed and kissed me goodnight after spending her afternoon planning their next meeting. She'd made her choices. Now she'd live with them. Monday morning, I left the Marriott at 6:30 a.m. The drive home took 12 minutes. Greg's car was gone from the driveway. He'd left sometime Saturday, according to the camera footage. Olivia's Honda was still there. I parked in my usual spot and sat for a moment, engine off, hands on the steering wheel. The house looked the same as it always did. White siding, black shutters, the rosebush Olivia had planted 3 years ago blooming pink by the mailbox. Our home. The place where we were supposed to build our life together. I grabbed my carry-on and the folder and walked to the front door. The key turned smoothly in the lock. The alarm beeped its usual greeting. I punched in the code, Olivia's birthday, which suddenly felt like a sick joke, and the beeping stopped. Babe? Olivia's voice from upstairs. You're home early. Footsteps on the stairs. She appeared in yoga pants and one of my old college t-shirts, hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. Hey, she smiled, moving toward me for a hug. I thought you weren't getting in until tonight. How was... I held out the folder. She stopped, looked at it, looked at me. What's this? Open it. Her smile faltered. Babe, what's going on? Open it, Olivia. She took the folder with shaking hands. Opened it. I watched her eyes scan the first page. Watched the color drain from her face. Watched her lips form the word divorce without sound. I know about Greg, I said. My voice was calm, steady. I know about all of it. The manila envelope slipped from her fingers. It hit the hardwood floor with a sound that seemed too loud for the morning quiet, papers fanning across the wood like accusation made physical. What is this? Her voice was small, confused, like she genuinely didn't understand what she was holding. I watched her face, watched the exact moment comprehension dawned, eyes widening, skin paling, mouth opening slightly. It was almost fascinating, in a detached way, like watching a car accident in slow motion. Divorce papers, I said. My voice sounded normal, steady. You should probably read them. She bent down, hands shaking as she gathered the scattered documents. I'd seen those hands shake before, when I proposed to her on that beach in Malibu, when she said yes through tears and laughter. Different kind of shaking now. Jake, what are you talking about? She looked up at me from the floor, still on her knees, papers clutched against her chest. Is this some kind of joke? Does it feel like a joke? But you're not supposed to be home until tonight. You said the flight. I lied. The words felt good. Clean. Turns out I'm pretty good at it. Wonder where I learned that. She stood slowly, papers still pressed against her like a shield. Jake, please. I don't understand what's happening. Did something happen in Denver? Are you okay? The concern in her voice almost sounded real. Maybe it was real. Maybe she could compartmentalize that well. Genuinely care about my well-being while screwing another man in our bed. I'm fine, I said. Better than fine, actually. Clarity's a hell of a thing. You're scaring me? Good. That stopped her. She blinked, mouth opening and closing like she couldn't find words. I'd never spoken to her like that. Never been cold with her. 5 years of marriage, 6 years together total, and I'd never once let my voice go flat and hard like this. Jake, how long have you been sleeping with him? The color drained from her face completely now, white as the papers in her hands. What? Greg, how long? She took a step backward, then another. Her back hit the wall next to the kitchen doorway. There's no Greg. I don't know what you're talking about. 4 months, I said. Since early January. You met him at a hotel bar downtown. You've been seeing him every week, sometimes twice a week. Thursday nights, mostly. Sometimes Tuesdays when I have my standing dinner meeting with clients. Each fact landed like a physical blow. I watched her flinch with every sentence. The Denver conference was supposed to be perfect, wasn't it? Whole weekend together. You were going to tell me you had that big presentation on Saturday, the one that would keep you at the office all weekend. He was going to stay here, in our bed. Stop, her voice cracked. Please stop. I have texts, Olivia, photos, 4 months of them. I have video from last Friday night when I came home early and found his car in our driveway. The papers slipped from her hands again. This time she didn't try to catch them. You were here? Midnight flight. Got home at 1:47 a.m. Black Audi in the driveway, lights off in the bedroom. I sat in my car for 20 minutes trying to decide if I should come inside. Oh God. She slid down the wall, ending up sitting on the floor, knees pulled up to her chest. Oh God, Jake, I'm so sorry. There it was. Confirmation. Not that I'd needed it, but hearing her say it, even indirectly, felt like something final clicking into place. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? Both. Neither. I don't know. She was crying now, mascara starting to run down her cheeks. I never meant for this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did it anyway. It didn't mean anything. He doesn't mean anything. I laughed. Couldn't help it. The sound came out harsh and bitter. 4 months of texts that would make a romance novelist blush, and he doesn't mean anything? It was physical. It wasn't real. And this? I gestured between us. Was this real? Any of it? Yes. God, yes, of course it was. Jake, I love you. I love our life together. This thing with Greg, it was just, don't. I held up a hand. Don't tell me it was a mistake. Don't tell me it just happened. You made a choice. Every single time. 4 months of choices. She buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. Part of me, some small, stubborn part, wanted to comfort her. Wanted to kneel down beside her and tell her it would be okay. 5 years of conditioning, I supposed. 5 years of being the person who made things better when she was upset. But I stayed where I was. I've already talked to a lawyer, I said. David Patterson. You'll get his information in the papers. I've withdrawn half the joint savings for protection. The house is in both our names, so that'll have to be sorted out. I'm staying at a hotel for now. A hotel? She looked up, face blotchy and wet. You're leaving? I left Friday night. I've been at the Marriott downtown since then. But you were just here. You just walked in. I thought, I came to give you the papers and to get some more of my things. I moved past her, heading for the stairs. She scrambled to her feet, following. Jake, please, can we just talk about this? Can we just… Talk about what, Olivia? How you been lying to me for 4 months? How you were planning to spend last weekend with him? How many times did he sleep in our bed? She didn't answer. How many times? I don't know, a few. Jake, please. I took the stairs 2 at a time. She followed, still pleading. The sound of her voice was starting to grate on me. All those weeks of, I love you and I missed you today and you're everything to me, how much of it had been real? How much had been her salving her own conscience? In the bedroom, I pulled my suitcase from the closet, started filling it with clothes from my dresser. She stood in the doorway watching. Does he know? She asked quietly. Greg, does he know you found out? Why? Worried about him? No, I need to know what happens next. I zipped the suitcase closed, turned to face her. What happens next is you sign those papers. What happens next is you find somewhere else to be for the next few hours while I get the rest of my stuff. What happens next is we split everything down the middle and we both move on with our lives. I don't want to move on. I want to fix this. You can't fix this. We could try counseling. We could… Olivia. I picked up the suitcase, moved toward the door. She didn't step aside, so I had to stop inches from her. You destroyed this. You destroyed us. There's nothing left to fix. That's not true. Jake, I made a mistake. A horrible, terrible mistake. But we have 6 years together. 6 years of memories and love and 4 months of you sleeping with someone else. It's over. I'll end it right now. I'll never see him again. I'll do whatever you need. Therapy, counseling, anything. Just please don't leave. Please don't give up on us. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Blonde hair messy from sleep, eyes red and swollen, wearing the same pajamas she'd worn countless mornings before. My Olivia. Except she wasn't. Not anymore. I need you to move, I said quietly. She didn't. Just stood there, blocking the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Olivia. Move. I love you. Then you should have thought about that before you invited him into our bed. That broke something in her. She stepped aside, pressing herself against the doorframe. I walked past her, suitcase in hand, and headed down the stairs. She followed at a distance, not speaking now. Just crying. At the front door, I paused. Turned back to look at her one more time. The lawyer will be in touch about the house and everything else. Don't call me. Don't text me. If you need to communicate, do it through David. Jake. Goodbye, Olivia. I walked out, got in my car, drove away. In the rearview mirror, I could see her standing in the doorway, still crying. I didn't look back again. The hotel room became my command center for the next 3 days. I'd taken a week off work, citing a family emergency. My boss didn't ask questions. 5 years of solid performance bought me that kind of trust. Tuesday morning, my phone rang. David Patterson. Jake, we have a problem. I set down my coffee. What kind of problem? Olivia hasn't responded to the papers. That's not unusual. We expected that. But I got a call from her attorney this morning, Mitchell Brennan. He's good, expensive, and he's already filing motions. What kind of motions? He's claiming you abandoned the marital home and requesting temporary exclusive use. He's also frozen the joint accounts pending a full financial discovery. I felt my jaw tighten. She cheated on me for 4 months, and I'm the one who abandoned. I know, we have the evidence. But until we get in front of a judge, she can make these claims. Brennan's also requesting temporary spousal support. You're kidding. I wish I was. Look, this is going to get uglier before it gets better. She's fighting. That means we need to be ready for a long game. After we hung up, I stared at the generic hotel art on the wall. A lighthouse. How appropriate. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Jake, please. We need to talk. This is crazy. We can work this out. I love you. Olivia. She'd gotten a new number or was texting from someone else's phone. I blocked it. 10 minutes later, another text. Different number. You won't even give me a chance to explain? After everything we've been through? I took a screenshot, forwarded it to David, then blocked that number too. By Wednesday, she'd tried 6 different numbers. Thursday afternoon, I drove to the house during hours I knew she'd be at work. I needed clothes, documents, some personal items. The security code had been changed. I stood on my own front porch, key in hand, unable to get inside. I called David. She can't do that, I said. It's my house, too. Technically, she can change the locks. You'd need a court order to force entry, and that takes time. But this actually helps us. It shows she's being hostile and uncooperative. Document everything. Take photos of yourself at the door, unable to enter. Send me timestamps. I did what he said, feeling ridiculous taking selfies on my own property. A neighbor I barely knew, the Carlsons, 2 doors down, was getting their mail. Mrs. Carlson waved tentatively. Everything okay, Jake? Just some technical difficulties with the lock. She nodded, clearly not believing me. Small mercies she didn't press. I drove back to the hotel and ordered room service. The pasta tasted like cardboard, but I ate it anyway. I'd lost 8 pounds since Monday. Couldn't afford to lose more. Friday morning brought a new complication. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, assuming it was Olivia again. Mr. Jake Reeves? Speaking. This is Detective Angela Foster with the Metro Police Department. I need to ask you a few questions about an incident report filed yesterday. My stomach dropped. What kind of incident? Your wife, Olivia Reeves, filed a report claiming you've been harassing her with threatening messages and may have accessed her computer and phone without authorization. She's also claiming you withdrew marital funds without her knowledge and that she fears for her safety. I sat down hard on the hotel bed. Detective, I haven't sent her a single message. She's been texting me from multiple numbers and I've been blocking them. I have screenshots. And the funds I withdrew were from our joint account. I'm legally entitled to access it. As for her safety, I haven't been within 100 yards of her since Monday morning. Can you verify your whereabouts for the past week? I've been staying at the Riverside Inn since Monday afternoon. You can check with the front desk. I have receipts, keycard records, everything. I'll need you to come down to the station to give a formal statement. Am I being charged with something? No, sir. But we take these reports seriously. If you could come in this afternoon, that would be helpful. I called David immediately after. Don't go alone, he said. I'll meet you there. And Jake? Don't say anything without me present. Nothing. Even if it seems harmless. The police station smelled like floor cleaner and bad coffee. Detective Foster was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She led us to a small interview room. David sat beside me, his briefcase open, legal pad ready. "Mr. Reeves, can you walk me through the events of the past week?" I did, methodically. The voicemail, the texts, the discovery, the lawyer consultation, the divorce papers. David provided documentation for everything: the hotel receipts, the bank withdrawal records, the screenshots of Olivia's texts to me. Detective Foster took notes, her expression neutral. "And you haven't attempted to contact Mrs. Reeves since Monday morning?" "Only through my attorney regarding the divorce proceedings." "What about accessing her electronic devices?" David cut in. "Detective, my client discovered evidence of infidelity on a phone that was in his marital home. There's no unauthorized access when the device is in a shared residence and the marriage is intact." "Mrs. Reeves claims he installed spyware on her phone." "I didn't," I said. "I looked at her phone once that night. I haven't touched it since." David made a note. "Detective, it sounds like Mrs. Reeves is attempting to create a counter-narrative to distract from her own behavior. My client has documentation showing she's been contacting him repeatedly from multiple numbers. That's harassment, not the other way around." Detective Foster studied us both for a long moment. "Mr. Reeves, I'm going to be straight with you. This looks like a messy divorce, not a criminal matter. But if Mrs. Reeves continues to make these claims, we'll need to investigate them. Keep documenting everything. Don't contact her directly. Don't go to the house unless you have a police escort or a court order." "Understood. And if she continues contacting you, file your own report. Build your own paper trail." We left an hour later. David walked me to my car. "She's playing dirty," he said. I noticed. "This is going to get worse before it gets better. False accusations, financial games, character assassination. Brennan's probably coaching her through all of it." "What do I do?" "Exactly what you've been doing. Document everything. Don't engage. Let me handle the legal side. And Jake?" He put a hand on my shoulder. "Take care of yourself. I've seen men in your position fall apart. Don't be one of them." That night, alone in the hotel room, I finally let myself feel it. The anger, the betrayal, the sheer absurdity that the woman I'd loved for 6 years was now trying to paint me as a criminal. I thought about the coffee shop where we'd met. The way she'd laughed when the barista mixed up our orders. The beach in Malibu where I'd proposed. New Year's Eve watching the ball drop, her head on my shoulder. Had any of it been real? Or had I married a stranger who was just good at wearing a mask? My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. "You're destroying everything we built. How can you be this cruel?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I took a screenshot, forwarded it to David, and blocked the number. 11 different numbers in 5 days. I ordered another room service dinner I wouldn't taste, and pulled up the video footage from the bedroom camera. I hadn't watched it yet. Hadn't needed to. But now I wondered if there was something there I'd missed. Some detail that would help. I pressed play. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m. Saturday night. The night I was supposedly in Denver. And I watched my wife bring another man into our bedroom. The call from Detective Foster came Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing sales projections in my hotel room. I'd been expecting it, but my stomach still dropped when her name appeared on my phone. "Mr. Reeves, this is Detective Angela Foster with the police department. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" "Of course." I closed my laptop and sat up straighter, as if she could see me through the phone. I've been reviewing the complaint filed by your wife regarding harassment and unauthorized access to her electronic devices. I'd like to hear your side of things. I'd rehearsed this with David 3 times. Stay calm, stick to facts, don't get emotional. I'm happy to explain everything, Detective. My wife and I are going through a divorce after I discovered she was having an affair. I found a voicemail on her phone one night when it was charging on our shared nightstand. That led me to discover text messages documenting a 4-month affair. And you installed a camera in the bedroom? In my own bedroom, yes. In my own home where I pay the mortgage. I wanted to document what was happening in my house while I was away on a business trip. Your wife claims you've been harassing her with phone calls. I almost laughed. Detective, I haven't called her once since I served her divorce papers. She's called me from at least 11 different numbers over the past 5 days. I've blocked every single one. I can provide phone records showing I haven't initiated any contact. There was a pause. I heard papers rustling. Can you send those records to me? Absolutely. My attorney has already compiled everything. Mr. Reeves, I have to ask, did you access any of your wife's accounts or devices beyond what you've described? No. I looked at text messages and photos on a phone that was sitting on the nightstand in our bedroom. I didn't hack anything. I didn't break into any accounts. I just looked at what was right there in front of me. Another pause. Longer this time. Okay, send me those phone records. And Mr. Reeves, keep not calling her. That's the smartest thing you can do right now. That's the plan, Detective. After we hung up, I forwarded her information to David, then sat staring at my phone. The conversation had gone better than I'd feared, but I knew this wasn't over. Olivia was fighting back hard, and she had resources I'd underestimated. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Jake, please. I know you're blocking me, but I need you to understand. I made a terrible mistake. The worst mistake of my life. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can rebuild. Please don't throw away 6 years over one mistake. One mistake. 4 months of lying. 4 months of planning. 4 months of sleeping with another man while sleeping next to me. That was one mistake. I blocked the number and opened my laptop. Wednesday morning, David called with news. Olivia's attorney filed a motion for exclusive use of the marital home and temporary spousal support. The hearing is scheduled for next Friday. Can she actually get that? She's going to try. Brennan's argument is that you abandoned the home and that she needs financial support while the divorce is pending. He's also claiming emotional distress from your alleged harassment. Alleged harassment that the detective is going to find zero evidence of. Right. Which is why I'm not too worried about that part. But the house and support, those are trickier. You did leave. You did withdraw half the savings. You told me to withdraw the money. I did, and it was the right move. But Brennan's going to paint it as you leaving her destitute. How much does Olivia make? Around $70,000 a year. I make $95,000. So she's not exactly destitute. That helps. But Jake, I need to prepare you. There's a chance the judge grants temporary support. Not much, maybe $1,000 a month, but something. And there's a chance they give her the house temporarily. I stood up and walked to the hotel window, looking down at the parking lot 12 floors below. She cheated on me for 4 months. She's the one who destroyed the marriage. And she gets the house? Temporarily, maybe. It's not about fault at this stage. It's about maintaining status quo until the divorce is finalized. But we're going to fight it. I'm filing a counter motion today, arguing that you left due to her infidelity, and that she makes sufficient income to support herself. What about her freezing the accounts? That's actually working in our favor. Shows she has access to resources and isn't destitute. I'm going to argue she's engaging in financial manipulation. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the hotel bed and tried to process it all. A week ago, I'd been married. I'd had a home, a wife, a life that made sense. Now I was living in a hotel, fighting over who got to sleep in my own bed and facing the possibility of paying support to the woman who'd betrayed me. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. I saw Greg yesterday. He feels terrible about everything. He didn't know we were working on our marriage when this started. He thought we were separated. I told him we're going to fix things and he understood. Please, Jake. Please just talk to me. Working on our marriage. We'd never been working on our marriage because I'd never known our marriage needed work, because she'd never told me. She'd just found someone else instead. And the lie about Greg thinking they were separated, that was new. Creative. I blocked the number. Thursday afternoon, I forced myself to go to the gym. I'd been living on hotel food and coffee for 6 days, and I could feel my body starting to protest. The hotel had a small fitness center on the 3rd floor. Nothing fancy, but enough. I was 20 minutes into a run on the treadmill when I saw him. Greg. He was across the room at the weight rack, wearing a gray tank top and black shorts, his back to me. I recognized him from the bedroom footage. The same build, the same dark hair, the same way he moved. My finger hit the emergency stop button on the treadmill before I'd consciously decided to do it. The belt jerked to a halt and I stumbled, catching myself on the handrails. He turned at the sound. Our eyes met. For 3 seconds, neither of us moved. I saw recognition dawn on his face. Olivia must have shown him photos. His expression shifted from confusion to understanding, to something that looked almost like fear. I stepped off the treadmill. He set down the weight he'd been holding. We stood there, 15 feet apart, in a hotel gym that suddenly felt very small. Jake? He said my name like he'd been practicing it. Look, man, don't. My voice came out quieter than I'd expected, steadier. Don't say anything. I didn't know you guys were. I said don't. He took a step back. He was bigger than me, probably had 30 pounds on me, but he looked like he wanted to run. Did you know? I asked. When you left that voicemail at 3 in the morning, did you know I was sleeping right next to her? His face went pale. What? The voicemail. The one where you talked about me being in Denver. Did you know I was there in bed with her when you called? I thought, Olivia said you were. Olivia said a lot of things, apparently. I took a step toward him. Not aggressive, just closing the distance. She told you we were separated? He nodded, not meeting my eyes. We weren't. We were married. Happily, I thought. I came home from work every day. I slept in our bed every night. I made her coffee every morning. And you? You were what? The exciting secret? The thing that made her feel alive? Man, I'm sorry. I really am. If I'd known, you did know. The words came out flat, factual. You knew she had a husband. You knew she went home to someone every night. You just didn't care because it wasn't your problem. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Stay away from her, I said. Stay away from both of us. And if you ever contact her again, I'll make sure your name is all over the divorce filing. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you did. I turned and walked out before he could respond, before the shaking in my hands became visible, before the rage I'd been keeping locked down could break through. In the elevator back to my room, I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. I'd confronted him. I'd said what I needed to say. And it had changed nothing. Olivia had still cheated. My marriage was still over. And I was still alone in a hotel, fighting battles I'd never wanted to fight. My phone buzzed as I walked into my room. Another unknown number. Another message from Olivia. I didn't even read it this time, just blocked it and turned off my phone. The hearing took place on a gray Friday morning in a courtroom that smelled like old wood and stale air. Olivia sat across the aisle with Mitchell Brennan, her attorney. A silver-haired man in an expensive suit who looked like he'd never lost a case he cared about. She'd dressed carefully, navy blue dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back. She looked small, vulnerable. Nothing like the woman who'd spent 4 months planning betrayals. She didn't look at me once. Judge Patricia Walsh presided, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She'd read the filings. Both sides presented their arguments. Brennan painting me as the abandoning husband who'd left his wife financially vulnerable. David countering with evidence of the affair, the harassment, the manipulation. "Your Honor," Brennan said smoothly, "Mr. Reeves left the marital home without warning, withdrew significant funds, and has refused all attempts at reconciliation. Mrs. Reeves is asking only for what's fair, temporary support and use of the home while these proceedings continue." David stood. "Your Honor, Mr. Reeves discovered his wife's 4-month affair and removed himself from a hostile situation. Mrs. Reeves earns $70,000 annually and has access to joint accounts. She's also contacted Mr. Reeves from 11 different numbers despite his request to stop. This isn't about need, it's about control." Judge Walsh looked at both of us over her reading glasses. "I've reviewed the evidence, the text messages, the camera footage, the phone records." She paused. "Mrs. Reeves, your affair is documented and undeniable. Mr. Reeves, your departure, while understandable, does complicate things." My stomach tightened. "However," she continued, "I'm not inclined to reward infidelity with exclusive use of the marital home. The house will remain in joint ownership until the divorce is finalized. Neither party is to change locks or deny access without a court order. As for temporary support, Mrs. Reeves, you have sufficient income. Motion denied." Brennan's jaw tightened. Olivia's face crumpled. "This court is adjourned. I expect both parties to behave like adults going forward." We stood. David squeezed my shoulder. Across the aisle, Brennan was already whispering to Olivia, probably planning the next move. I walked out without looking back. The divorce was finalized 4 months later on a Tuesday afternoon in October. No drama, no last-minute confessions. Just signatures and a judge's stamp making official what had been true since that voicemail at 3:47 a.m. The house sold in November. We split the proceeds down the middle. Olivia moved to an apartment across town. I bought a small condo near the river. 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors, a view of the water. A place with no memories. I never saw Greg again. According to mutual friends who didn't know when to stop talking, Olivia and Greg tried to make it work after the divorce. Lasted 3 months before imploding. Turned out a relationship built on betrayal wasn't exactly stable. Who knew? 2 years later, I was sitting in a coffee shop downtown. Not the one where Olivia and I met, but close enough that the irony wasn't lost on me. I was reading the newspaper, drinking an Americano, enjoying a Saturday morning alone. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" I looked up. A woman about my age, dark hair, warm smile, holding a latte and a book. "It's all yours," I said. She sat, opened her book. We didn't talk. Didn't exchange numbers. Didn't even make eye contact again. But as I left 20 minutes later, I realized something. I hadn't thought about Olivia once that morning. Hadn't wondered what she was doing. Hadn't felt that familiar ache of betrayal. The wound had finally scarred over. I learned things from the wreckage of my marriage. Hard things. Uncomfortable things. I learned that love isn't enough if it's not matched with honesty. That trust, once broken, doesn't heal. It just becomes something else. Something more cautious. More aware. I learned that some people are very good at compartmentalizing, at living double lives, at looking you in the eye and lying without flinching. And I learned that you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Can't fix someone who doesn't think they're broken. But mostly, I learned that betrayal doesn't destroy you unless you let it. Olivia made her choices. She chose the affair. Chose the lies. Chose to risk everything we'd built for something that didn't even last a year after I was gone. Those were her choices. Her consequences to live with. I made different choices. I chose clarity over confrontation. Documentation over drama. I chose to walk away from someone who'd already left me months before I found out. And in the end, I chose to keep living. Not the life I'd planned. Not the future I'd imagined with a wife and kids and a house with a white picket fence. But a life nonetheless. One built on truth instead of illusion. On solid ground instead of sand. Some nights, I still wonder what would have happened if I'd never heard that voicemail. If I'd slept through the call. If I'd chosen ignorance over knowledge. But those thoughts don't last long anymore. Because the truth, however painful, is always better than a beautiful lie. And I'd rather be alone with the truth than married to a stranger. That's not bitterness talking. It's not even sadness anymore. It's just wisdom, hard-earned and paid for in full. I'm 42 now. I date occasionally. I have friends. I have work I care about. I have a life that's mine, built on foundations I can trust because I laid them myself. Is it the life I wanted? No. But it's real. And after everything, real is enough.